Hey, boys and girls, welcome to the High on God podcast again.
What's up, y'all?
With your hosts, Matthew Spinks and Zach Pratt. Well, today we got a whole bunch of goodies for you. We just spent a little bit of time trying to figure out what we even wanted to do because there's so many good ideas.
So many directions we could go.
So many directions we should go. Yeah, just feeling a lot of peace today. A lot of juice.
Shabbat.
It's kind of a sunny / rainy day outside, and I just see a lot of thick, glory cloud in this room. And in your rooms. We're going to do a little segment where I think we're going to try to do it every week. And it's a segment where we just give a couple recommendations of books, music, or art that we've been receiving from. Just shoot out a few recommendations in case you guys want to check it out. This week we're going to read a paragraph or two from The Laughter of God.
Yes,
By Walter C. Lanyon.
I love this one.
Truly one of the most drunk books I've ever heard.
Yes.
Or read. This one's got the nice
huffable
old smell, very huffable. The laughter of God. God has made me to laugh, so that all that hear will laugh with me. Deep in my soul, I heard the laughter of God ringing in silvery cadences through the timbers of my being, breaking the human bonds and limitations as a strong yet gentle wind in the forest sweeps aside the strands of cobweb. The hard, fast knots that I had tied slipped loose, and the snarls of the leaves broke free. The river of my human life, frozen by 1,001 false ideas and teachings, broke joyously into expression and went bounding to the infinite sea of life, to be lost and found at the same time. One dark cave of fear after another was illuminated by the light of this laughter, and swampy areas of sick thoughts were dried up instantly. Parched sands of hopelessness and futile efforts were drenched by the living waters, sucked in, absorbed instantly like a wave breaking on the sands. God laughing at me and my puny efforts to make things happen, to make heaven appear, to attain the sonship. Not the laugh of derision, but of infinite compassion, a laughter so deep and sweet, so pure and glorious, that everything in the nature of struggle gave way before it. And the breath of that glorious laughter blew all the dirty rags of personal teaching and self-aggrandizement away from me. And at first, the fierce joy that proceeded from the unheard, heard peals of laughter, made me afraid that everything worthwhile was being taken from me, and that I should be naked. But no sooner had the filthy rags of personality blown free, that I was clothed in a panoply of light. And in this glorious raiment of light, I saw for the first time the glory of the Spirit made flesh.
So good, man. So good.
It's just a fun little book. Not everything's perfect, but it's a great book for just absorbing in a mystical way truths. I feel like he puts a lot of truths to words in ways that I've never heard before.
Yeah.
He has a very poetic way of expressing certain things that are very juicy. So,
Hey, man.
it's a great book. Check it out.
Yeah, I recommend that book too. Just like Walter Lanyon has a lot of pretty drunk writings, but The Laughter of God is probably a masterpiece in my opinion.
Yeah.
Especially because this is like 100 years ago. He wrote the book, and there weren't a lot of laughing believers that we knew of at that time.
Yeah.
So it's kind of pioneering something, just drinking something good before it was cool, I wanted to do a little recommendation today as well of some music I've been listening to recently. I've been pimping out my playlist all over the internet here, but I made a little playlist which you can find on my Facebook or different things. Maybe I'll put it in the links here. Just worship music, a lot of times when you start to really hear the gospel that it is finished, that we're complete in Him, it's hard to relate to a lot of the old begging worship, a lot of the old, I'm so unworthy, you're worthy, I'm terrible, you must increase, I must decrease, all that stuff. So I've been trying to collect songs that are just gospel-y, and it is finished oriented, and it's hard to find a lot of them, but lately I've been getting super whacked listening to this Psalm 34 song by the Brooklyn Tabernacle Choir, and I love it because the Brooklyn Tabernacle Choir has been around for, I've heard the name for years, never really listened to much, but this Psalm 34 song, which is just, the chorus comes a crescendo of, "Oh, taste and see that the Lord is good," and just a mystical glory on it, And so, anyway, in these coming podcasts, we'll probably recommend to you a song or a book or something, and I love the combo. Probably our recommendations would be a combo of something that's like healthy theology, but also with thick glory on it. So, which is my favorite when all is married together. Anyway.
That's good.
Yeah, so
wow.
Check out Psalm 34, the Brooklyn Tabernacle Choir, and The Laughter of God by Walter Lanyon. You'll be encouraged, man. So
I feel pretty buzzed.
Hallelujah. It's been a whacked week. It's been good. We've been getting a few responses to some of our podcasts. So today it was a topic we were already pretty much planning to do, but we got a response from one of our listeners, and I'm going to play that here. It was kind of a topic request question from our buddy Tyson Hopper. So we appreciate you listening, Tyson. And for the rest of you too, if you go into the anchor.fm, you can record us a little soundbite and we might include it in the next podcast. So we're going to include this one from Tyson, and it's his question/topic request. So I'm going to play that and then we'll kind of respond to it. So here we go.
Hey you guys, I just thought I'd send in a request for an idea, topic I guess. Just interested in hearing some more stories, testimonies, crazy wacky glory stories of crazy stuff y'all have encountered and experienced, and all kinds of stuff in the glory, and crazy high stories and different testimonies like that. Angelic stories, going to heaven, dreams, visions, whatever you want to say, all the above. So anyway, love you guys, and just thought I'd send that in.
Sweet. So thanks, Tyson, and we can try to respond to that. That was kind of our heart anyway, to share some more just stories, like just have some fun recounting mystical adventures. A lot of times when you hear a testimony, you can be provoked to say that this kind of stuff could happen in my life, and what does God have for me? Never really want to use it to compare yourself, but just to kind of be provoked that God has awesome mystical drinks for each and every one of us. So you want to start? Or
Sure, yeah.
Sweet. Thanks, man.
A couple that I can think of. So I did have an experience a couple weeks ago where I had asked a coworker for help with a particular problem that I was working on, and so we went in a side room and he started sharing with me, and it was just funny because neither of us could seem to focus on the thing that we had originally planned on talking about, but he ended up just telling me his story and his background, and how he had been a Christian, and then he decided that he wasn't anymore, and went through a period of just learning science, and I don't know, the path that might be familiar to a lot of us, but just basically deciding that God wasn't real or whatever, more of an atheistic thing. But then we were just sharing, and he was, he just asked me if I've ever had experiences with God, or I can't remember how it came up. But I just said, yeah, I mean, well, he said, why do you believe God's real? I said, well, I get intoxicated on him all the time, so it's hard for me to ever say that, I don't believe that he's real, because I'm literally experiencing all the time. And then he ended up saying at the end of the conversation, like, well, maybe I will be a Christian again someday or something. And just the way he said it, it was just, there was an imminency to it. And I don't know, it was just an interesting conversation. I really like this guy. I from the second I met him, I felt a connection. So a couple of weeks go by, and he comes into work, and everything seems normal for the most part. And we just had exchanged a few words. I can't remember what, but normal work stuff. And then he said, hey, can I talk to you for a minute? And I was like, okay. So he pulls me aside to the side room again. And then he just started telling me about how he had this mystical experience, and how he hadn't been able to sleep because he just felt so filled with a creative and full of life energy. And just, he basically said, well, I can't really say that I'm not a Christian anymore based on this experience that I've had. And he's like, do you ever have experience? I think he opened the conversation with, have you ever, like, when do you experience God, or have you experienced God? I'm like, well, it's like constant, And so I was just able to relate to him and stuff, but it was just a funny story, just very out of the normal. Just opened up a door between us and on our connection, and I look forward to talking to him more just about whatever is on his heart. But it was just fun seeing God supernaturally moving in his life. And then another story I can think of is even more subtle, but I was talking to my wife Ashley the other night, and we were dealing with some really heavy stuff, really difficult stuff. I was feeling very sad or angry and just very emotional at that moment. And all of a sudden, when we were in the middle of talking and it was just such a low point, I just felt a supernatural wave of laughter come over me, and I just began to laugh. And it was almost at just the ridiculousness of it all, and just this perspective like wash over me. I really like that story because I feel like a lot of people can relate to feeling that way, the way that I felt. And I feel like God's always releasing those waves of liberty over people.
Yes.
And they can just break into those difficult moments and those difficult conversations and situations that you might have, whether it's family drama or whether it's something at work, just tough conversations that have to be had, or tough situations.
That's so good.
So just waves of peace and joy, and I feel like I love those supernatural experiences because they're so common in a way that's relatable and human, where it's just a perspective that washes over the moment that you have, where you feel a wave of awakening to that circumstance of Christ. The circumstance of Christ inside you that's always happening. So
that's awesome.
What about you?
Love it. Yeah, well, I feel like waves, or maybe even oceans of glory, could be a theme that God is speaking right now. But it's funny, just while you're speaking, I was just reminded of, we're talking about some of our favorite experiences or testimonies and stuff, and some of my favorite experiences are just those random times where God just smacks you, man, when you're not expecting it.
Yeah.
I just think of times where I've been even just sitting at home on my computer or something, and all of a sudden, literally and this is, it's funny because I don't remember this happening a lot growing up or whatever, but it's almost like once you've kind of been awakened to it a time or two, it's like you're open to it or something, It's like something in you awakens. It's like after I first got whacked in 2008, ever since then, there'll just be random times. I'm just thinking of one in particular. One night I was just sitting on my computer, I don't even know, just sending an email or something, and all of a sudden just tangible glory, like just vibration. Like for me, I've often had, and I'll get back, I'm actually going to share this experience in just a minute, but ever since this one experience happened, like it's like when the glory cloud is moving around me, it's like I feel something on my hands, and it's almost like, oh, there's a golden glory cloud here, or like, and it's almost, hard to put language to it really, but it's like God is just, I think we're taught so long, like we have to seek God, but there's just so many times now it's like God just surprises you, God just seeks you out in that moment. Like he's like, hey, I just want to show you, you don't have to like this is such a two-way relationship. You don't have to always initiate prayer. Sometimes God initiates prayer, like just by whacking you with glory. And I just remember sitting at my computer, like just being like, and the rest of the night was just super hammered, and I didn't do anything, like it's just like, whoa, thank you, Lord. So I was referring to another experience in this one that I was just talking about, and so there was this time in I can't remember, it was like 2009 maybe, where I went up to this gathering in Wisconsin with some other glory people or whatever, and the lady that was ministering actually said, we're going to release financial angels right now, which is so funny because me and there were 3 other friends were there, and we were just pretty hammered. I mean, I was like slammed anyways, and then this lady's like, we're going to release financial angels, and she just goes, and here they go now, or something, And I feel like I've been a part of meetings like that several times, but this time it was like for real, dude. You felt like these winds kind of go over the group or whatever, and we were just laid out, and I began to get gold dust on my hands, and that was the first time, I think the first time for me and all of our friends, and we were just in this cloud then for like, I don't know, a couple hours afterwards, and I was just so drunk, and a bunch of stuff happened in that cloud, so we're just hammered and rolling around. The service is long over. It was the morning meeting. People are going to lunch, and as people are leaving, like anyone that would walk by our cloud kind of got hammered and would just like lay out with us, just laughing and just like being like, hey, I have gold, let me give it to you, like put our hands over people, like other people getting gold. And so one of the things that happened from that point was that after that, for like several months, like our whole community started having gold dust, and like for like probably 2 months, anybody that I like pray for would get it, or even I just say check your hands, and like it doesn't always happen now, and I don't know what the deal was with this whole thing, but I could even I'd be like messaging someone on the internet, and I'd be like, check your hand. They were like on the other side of the world, and they'd be like, I have gold on my hands. Like, so weird, So that was one thing that happened in that experience. Another thing was like one of the people that walked by our cloud while we were on the floor rolling around said, we want to sow into your ministry, whatever, and they didn't even know us. Ended up giving us over $100,000 worth of coffee shop equipment to start our coffee shop. And so it was like I don't know, I just think of that one, they're just saying share stories. That was like a fun one for me. It's like, my God, dude, over $100,000 dropped on us. This crazy golden glory thing with the gold dust. But then also, I think that even the greatest thing in that, obviously, was just the tangible sense of God. God's presence, dude. And ever since then, and even before that, I kind of had this, but it was intensified there. And it's probably just the glory realm, I think other ministers call it the glory realm, or, whatever language you put to it. But it's like I was saying, ever since then, and even a little bit before, in varied levels of intensity, it's like sometimes you just feel like a wave of God. You're like, oh my God, I wasn't doing anything, I'd just be driving in my car or whatever. And it's like, I'm not listening to special music, or sometimes you are, sometimes you aren't. And just it's whatever. God is it's like, oh, thank you, Lord. And it's just whatever.
That's making me think of times, if it's okay.
Oh yeah. I'll share more, but you go ahead too.
Oh, okay.
No, you go.
Okay, yeah. So it's making me think of times when, it just makes me think of the role of expectation. And that's an interesting thing that we might talk about. We can maybe talk about. But there's the times when he hits you when you're not expecting it.
Yeah.
But then there's these times, and for some reason I'm thinking about when we went to that conference in Reading where
Oh, yeah.
there was like just the people in the lobby, and other conferences I've been to where it's just like
It's a lot of
the
expectation.
clowns that are in the lobby.
Yeah.
You know, and they're just like having a good time.
Yeah.
Like I've had so many good experiences that way, and that's just like I love thinking about those things. Or it's not even like I'm doing a lot of work to recall it, but it's almost like there's just certain days when the Lord's bringing those things back and like hitting me with that glory again. Where there's just like a group of people who are free, just like willing to do that, willing to.
Yes.
They have the expectation that things are going to be crazy.
Yeah.
And so then they're just having fun together and time disappears and you're just standing around in a circle, laying hands on each other.
It's funny because that was one of the things I was going to get to in one of my other stories I wanted to share was my favorite times are really like in our community over the years at different times when people are just getting whacked and you just kind of go with it together. I don't know. One I was thinking of was, and I can't remember who all was there, but we actually were going over to an old friend of mine's house who I used to do drugs with back in the day. And one of us, we were just hammered. And I don't know how, I was like, I just got a few of our drunken buddies, maybe 4 or 5 of them, was like, let's go over and visit this old friend. I think she'll be blessed by like our whack, and she'll probably want to get high with us in the glory, you know, not on substances. And it was true. Like we carried so much whack that as we were walking through the streets, we were falling over on the sidewalk, just laughing and like just having that expectation together. There was so much glory swirl. When we got over to my friend's house, she and a couple other people were there. They were just watching TV or whatever, and we came in and we were so high. They definitely were feeling it, and they started to they were like, "Whoa, what is going on?" And they got so drunk that the one girl gave me her like little pipe. She's like, I don't need this anymore. It was like I guess it was a crack pipe. I never smoked crack, but people use the crack pipes to smoke weed with too. It's like just one of those little pipes with the metal filter, you know. And she's like, you take this. I don't need it anymore. And for a while, I just held on to it as like a little trophy of what the drunkenness could do. You know, it was just so funny because we were all like so hammered that like our friend just gave up her drugs that night, you know. and before on our way there, we were falling in the streets, and as we left at the end, we were walking back to our house, like I fell down in the grass for probably 20 minutes. Other friends, we were trying to like hold each other up, you know. And I just love like that when you're experiencing that bliss with people, and you're just kind of, you know, and a lot of times like Zach's referred to, you go to like a conference, you can't really do that in the main session, and you know, probably respectful not to like interrupt it too much, although we've been guilty of that. But you know, you go out in the lobby or you find the side room, you know, they put you in the side room, and man, we've had some hammered times in the side rooms.
Yeah,
I've had some hammered times in the side room at IHOP Kansas City. I remember. I don't know if you were there. They said, you guys are the only ones experiencing God in this section. Could you please leave? Sorry, I just name dropped the whole ministry. It wasn't my plan. But anyway, they put us in the side room, and the side room had the worship still playing on the screen and through the speakers. And we were running around the room just like hammer, just running in circles. And like I remember passing out on the ground, and I thought it was an angel started praying for me. It ended up actually a midget from the meeting had come in. It was just like that's a politically incorrect term too, I'm sure. This very small person came up and started praying for me, and I thought it was an angel because I was so drunk and the voice was so high, and they were praying for me all the 9-fold gifts of the Holy Ghost or something, and I was like, oh my God. And when I opened my eyes, like I literally didn't know who had prayed for me, and someone said there was a little person that came and prayed for you right there, and I was like, what just happened?
out of nowhere.
I was not planning on telling this story. Sorry if it's not a completely socially acceptable, but that was another one of my favorites. I was going to share another one of my favorite drunken stories. Well, part of it was I liked Tyson's question earlier, and he mentioned angels. I love, you know, like Godfrey says, we're not talking about angels. Angels aren't the centerpiece of our message, but a lot of believers are unaware of angels, and I just loved, like when we got that gold dust impartation and the $100,000 worth of cafe equipment, it was like I knew there was definitely angelic ministry, and it was when the lady was like, we're going to release the finance angels, you know. And there's something drunk. We've gotten pretty drunk off the angel of finance at times, Even had friends say they encountered the angel of finance as a big, like, African American looking biker dude. I don't know.
Yeah. My favorite angelic story is when it was after the cafe opened, and I had gotten into this confrontation with some people who didn't like the ministry or didn't like what we were doing or whatever, and they had kind of trapped me and kept me from. I had to back out. I had to back my vehicle out and go back and get my work shirt and all this other stuff. And so they were like kind of cornering me and questioning me, and it was, it was very intense. And then I went in to, after I got my shirt, I went in to start my shift or whatever, and then I looked up and I saw in the spirit an angel that I knew was like supposed to be for the gentleman that was part of these two people who were talking to me. And so I said, okay, yeah, go get him. And then I just kept going on.
He sent an angel after
Dude,
him.
I sent an angel after him.
Yeah.
And then I forgot all about it. And then within 20 minutes, he had come back and he had like apologized for everything and like asked for a hug from me. And like, that's not something that would have normally happened.
That's wrong.
So
Yes.
it was just like a very vivid thing.
Our buddy Cole Harmon's been encountering a lot of angels lately, so if you're interested in that, just send Cole a message. But, obviously angels isn't the centerpiece. It's all about Jesus. But at the same time, like,
It's a
angels
side
are,
piece.
yeah, angels are like your side piece. But, Lord. They're here to minister to those inheriting salvation, so that's you. Let's see, one last story I was going to share.
Orbs.
Oh yeah, orbs are hammered. Man, it's so fun. Sometimes I don't like to share as many like stories and testimonies because there's so much like hype and comparison in the body of Christ sometimes.
Yeah, if you're not feeling anything, it can be really easy to like make it
feel
worse.
bad about
it's like you feel worse after.
Wow,
you
they
hear
have great
testimonies.
stories and I don't. Listen, like just put your hands out and be like, "Thank you, Lord,
Yeah.
for the glory and the testimonies."
If that's you, you're about to
me."
have even
You don't have to do
crazier
a thing.
story.
Yes. Sha-la-la-la-la-la. You are a crazy story in and of yourself. I mean, sometimes we're looking for something like, well, actually, he mentioned in his thing about going to heaven or whatever. And one of the things I encourage people is like, it's not about going to heaven really. It's realizing like heaven and earth are one. And in fact, like everything around us came out of the invisible. Like God wanted this stuff. He made it. So it's just as supernatural just to have a natural encounter. It's supernatural experiencing, the panentheism of Christ in everything. Or as it says often in another random book recommendation, the mediation of Christ, that Christ interpenetrates everything. And I like that language. It's hammered just knowing that your daily life is a supernatural experience.
Yeah, I think it's the tearing down of that dualism that allows you to really feel and experience those effortless things. Because, like the testimony I was sharing, where that wave of peace just came over me, that wasn't like some big external thing. I didn't see an angel or an orb or go to heaven or anything. But it's so much more profound because as you start to realize how not separate heaven and earth are, you start to supernaturally experience earth and humanly experience heaven and the supernatural.
No, exactly.
Incarnational existence.
That's when I noticed. I for years was crying out for supernatural experiences and wanting them, and literally for like the first 7 years of my Christian life, rarely had anything, rarely heard God. But when that revelation hit me that there is no separation, that heaven is here with us, that we're in the glory all the time, that you are in the glory. And when that hit me, dude, now since that was in 2008, it's just been a wild ride. And I was going to share some more things, but I have a whole chapter on it in the book too. I forget, I think it's like chapter 9, more high stories or something. And I've been struck mute in the glory. What else? Oh, I don't even know. I've seen so many supernatural healings in the glory, blind eyes open, I've seen deaf ears, just crazy stuff. But also, my favorite really is just feeling that golden glory cloud. just feeling that cloud that interpenetrates all. That's like, wow.
That's good.
And watching it really change situations, or even if the situation doesn't change, that, man, my heart feels so good. So maybe that's a good stopping point for the week. I think it's gone about 30 minutes. We're trying to keep them around that time-ish. So thanks for tuning in. We would love to use more of your questions or comments, so send those in. And you can recommend to us. We want to do more interviews. We're going to start interviewing some people here. The first few episodes, we just wanted to kind of get it going. But we also, we have it in our heart to interview other drinkers, other gospel wackos like ourselves, but ones with different perspectives and different things to add, and they'll give their own shine of the crazy diamond. So if you have anybody you want to recommend that we interview, we might interview non-believers, we might interview shamans, we might interview, who knows what might happen. So it'll all be good conversation to provoke us into a greater awareness of the Christ that's in us and the Christ that we're in. So
thanks for tuning in, guys. This is really fun.
It's fun. Until next time, enjoy and be blessed. Thanks for listening to the High on God podcast with Matthew Spinks and Zachary Paul Pratt. Don't forget to subscribe to the show and check out the accompanying YouTube vlog, where we'll have short guided meditations on the glory of Jesus, as well as additional random coverage and updates from the God High. Also, if you believe in the message we're putting out to the world, consider donating or becoming a monthly partner at www.thefirehouseprojects.com/donate, so that we can spread the authentic, inebriating good news of Jesus. Alrighty then, until next time, stay high on the supply inside that never runs dry, Jesus Christ.